Hello everybody and welcome today to the history of the bouzouki. More importantly, this is the Irish bouzouki, and we're going to talk more about it on the other side. So we'll go from there and hopefully you enjoy this wonderful bit of history. And yeah, see you on the other side.
The name bouzouki comes from the Turkish word bouzuk, meaning broken or modified, and is a member of the long-necked lute family, with a round body, with a flat top and a long neck, with a fretted fingerboard. It has steel strings and is played with a plectrum, producing a sharp metallic sound, reminiscent of a mandolin but pitched lower. There are two main types of bouzouki: the tricordo, the three-course one, which has 3 pairs of strings known as courses, and the tricordordo, which is 4-course and has 4 pairs of strings. The bouzouki arrived in Greece following the 1919 to 1922 war in Asia Minor and the subsequent exchange of the Orthodox and Muslim populations between Greece and Turkey, when the Orthodox Ottoman citizens, both Greek and non-Greek speaking, fled to Greece. The early bouzouki were mostly 3-string tricordi with 3 courses, 6 strings in 3 pairs, and were tuned in different ways as to the scale one wanted to play. At the end of the 1950s, 4-course tricordo bouzouki started to gain popularity. The 4-course bouzouki was made popular by Menis Chikos, who was used a tuning akin to a standard guitar tuning, which made it easier for guitarists to play bouzouki, even as it angered purists. However, it allowed for greater virtuosity and helped elevate the bouzouki into a truly popular instrument capable of a wide range of musical expression. Recently, the 3-chord bouzouki has gained in popularity. The first recording with the 4-course instrument was made in 1956. The Irish bouzouki, with 4 courses, a flatter back, and differently tuned from the Greek bouzouki, is a more recent development, stemming from the introduction of the Greek instrument into Irish music by Johnny Monaghan around 1965. It's subsequently adopted by Andy Irvine and many others, although Irish musicians such as Alec Finn continue to use the Greek-style instruments, and is still a common instrument in most modern folk music. As you can see, I own the Irish version. With the 3-course bouzouki, the standard tuning is often normally DD, AA, DD, as compared to the 4-course bouzouki, which normally would be in CC, FF, AA, DD. However, in the case of the Irish bouzouki, the most common tuning is GG, DD, AADD. But as with most instruments, the tuning can vary from the open D through to the open G.
So, the Irish bouzouki, or the Greek bouzouki, etc, etc. So, the history lesson you saw was about the bouzouki and its development from Greece, obviously over to Ireland, and how they adopted it in folk music. And it is a perfectly designed instrument for that. And for me, it's just really, in layman's terms, it is really just an extension of a mandolin. It's just a bigger version of it. And like I said, the difference between the Greek one and the Irish one is that you've got a bulb at the bottom. So with the Greek one, traditional Greek one, you'd have, if you cut a football in half, and you'd sort of like have it so it sort of goes over like that. And let's talk about really the basis of this. So there's 2 strings per note. So much like a 12-string guitar, if you can see this. So if you can see, you've got 2 strings on each one. Okay. Forgive me, it's a little bit out of tune. And then also on my one, you've got hooks for the strings at the bottom, so it's quite an old-fashioned thing, this. Whoa, look at that. So they're loops, and you loop it in and you hook it up. So that's that. Also, this is, if you've watched the history of the tenor guitar, you'll know that this is also an Ozark as well. So my tenor guitar is an Ozark model, and so is this, if you can see that. So I might say it in there. So it's an Ozark as well. And yeah, I've loved this instrument so much. it's always awkward to play, so you sort of really, the idea is you rest it between your legs and you can sort of play it like that. Oh, love that sound. So nice. Oh, and unfortunately, the strings on this will be the last time they'll be played on this one, because I'm gonna restring it, and as is always customary, you want to see what strings. So these are the Rotor Sound mandolin strings that I'm using, and because this is basically a mandolin. And I always go into the guitar store and buy them. I don't really go online to sort of purchase them. You can obviously buy Bouzouki strings, but really they are just a mandolin. And yeah, I like to go into the guitar store, speak to the guys and just sort of see, you know, about any other things. It's always good anyway when you go into an actual shop itself. I'm still one of them old-fashioned people who actually likes to go into the shops themselves. I don't really do much online shopping really. I like to actually go in because I actually get to sort of see, try out stuff. And yeah, so back to the story of the Bouzouki. So first things first, before I sort of talk about my own personal relationship, this is tuned to D dadgad, really it would be. So it's D, A, D, and then G. And it keeps good tune. It sort of keeps its tuning quite well, apart from when you add a capo. And unfortunately, I use a capo quite a lot on this instrument. I've never bothered changing the tuning on this. I love this tuning for this instrument. I know at some point I will, as I always do, get a bit bored and start experimenting with the tunings. But I always do think like the moment I put a capo on it, it just changes the sound anyway for me. But unfortunately this guitar does not seem to, especially the G, the top string, doesn't like having a capo on it. But I will, for the purpose of this video, show you later. So my relationship with this instrument, I've owned this one for about 7 years, and I came across this through, I'll try and make this story as brief as possible. I was signed to my second record contract that I had, and I was very fortunate because I'd got signed off the back of an EP that I'd done, which was like a folk, sort of a modern folk EP with the element of a lot of literal different influences purposely thrown in there. And the idea was that it wasn't meant to sound like a traditional folk record in terms of it being raw. It was meant to sound actually quite orchestral and big, but with still a strong core of folk music in there. And there was this record company at the time really liked what I was doing and liked the direction I was sort of heading. So they signed me up for an album deal, and which was great. And what was even better was that we'd managed to sort of negotiate it so that it would be a 10-track album and I could use the first 5 tracks of the EP. Now some people get a bit annoyed by that because they're like, well no, you should write 10 brand new tracks. Unfortunately, the time restraints that I'd been given at the time meant that I could literally probably only, it would be easier to re-record the 5 tracks that I'd done originally, improve on them and then add 5 new tracks to obviously cater for a wider audience. So I went to my friend Luke at the time who ran a studio. Unfortunately it's not there anymore, but it was literally up the road from me, and it was in this barn, like literally in the back of this. It was just an incredible place, full of history, and I loved it to bits. I used to rehearse there quite a lot, and we were good friends from college actually, so we'd known each other for a very long time. And what I really liked about Luke was that we were on the same page musically. I mean, literally, like our influences for both, because he was doing music at the time as well, like his own thing, as you would do, I suppose, if you owned your own studio. And we were just on the same page. And fast forward to the idea that he'd recorded the EP already anyway, so he's familiar with what I was trying to do as well. So I came on, like, knocked on his door and said, oh, dude, like, you got to help me, like, you know, I need to make an album, I've been signed. Oh my god, you know what I mean, like panic stations, overload, because of the, like I said, it was literally, had to turn it over within like less than a month. And sometimes people think, oh, that's not much time, and some people think, well, that's a lot of time, but for me, it wasn't a lot of time. because the 5 other tracks, the debate was, well, we've got these 5 tracks that work really well in this EP. The debate was to what other 5 tracks were we can actually put on there. And it actually turned out that I literally wrote the new 5 tracks that I'd added. I think out of those 5, I want to say 2 out of those 5 were brand new, like I'd never sort of touched them at all. Literally brand new out of the bat. And it's still probably the proudest moment musically of my life with that album, because it, like, you know, I've done EPs and all this sort of stuff before throughout my musical career, but for what that was and for what it entailed, I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud of what it came out as. You know, I still, like, you know, I don't squirm at listening to any of it. You know what I mean? When I listen back to it, it's a rare thing for me, because normally I do with a lot of my music, but on this occasion I didn't. And so going back to the Bouzouki, we'd finished off all 10 tracks, and we'd finished them off in their basic format. So it was like guitar, percussion, vocals. They were pretty much the 3 things that had been laid down. And then we were starting to do the strings part for the album. Anyway, so we'd done all that, and then Luke was like, well, look, you know, if you wanted to sort of have a look, he goes, you know, and he showed me this little Aladdin's cave, pretty much, of like really unusual instruments that I'd seen maybe, you know, before, but I'd never really played any of them. And one of them was actually an original Greek bouzouki. So I got the bulb thing on the bottom, and it was really battered. I mean, I think I even want to say there was like a little mini like hole or dent in the, I think it was a hole actually in the actual instrument itself. The strings were like seen their best, but yet for some strange reason I really gravitated towards it, and it was because it was familiar with a mandolin, and I'd owned a mandolin for a very long time, so it was just a familiar thing, but it just sounded bigger, you know, it just does. Mandolin is obviously a smaller version, really. It just sounded bigger, and I was like, wow, I can do a lot of stuff with this. So on one track I wrote, we literally put the bouzouki underneath it as a sort of melody, and it worked really, really well. And then ever since then, every time I'd been doing sort of stuff, I was always sort of like trying to get a mandolin or a bouzouki sound in there, because I just love that instrument, you know. I don't know if anybody's heard the track Iris by Goo Goo Dolls. Like, there's a mandolin that plays in the back of that, and it's just an iconic sound that for me I just love, and so I've always tried to sort of replicate that as best as possible. Never worked out, but you know. So that was really it. That was how I got introduced to it. And then literally the moment we'd finished recording, I bought a bouzouki, and that was it. And this was the one. This is the very one itself, and that was it. And I just fell in love with it. And I couldn't stop playing it. And unfortunately, probably after I finish recording this, I will literally be out in the garden just playing this now. Because I regret not... I regret not playing it as much. And that's it, really. So, you know, I'm assuming you want me to play this for you. Rubbishly, by the way. Can I just say to everybody out there, I don't prepare on these videos what I'm going to really say. I've got a rough idea, but I definitely don't prepare what I play on here. And somebody said, why don't you just play stuff that you know your actual tracks? And I'm like, yeah, great, but I kind of like, to be fair, I'm a songwriter, so I kind of like want to sort of just keep trying to sort of see if I can get other sounds out of it. So yeah, need to brush up on this a little bit. Like I said, I'm no virtuoso or maestro by any means. So anyway, Where this instrument comes into its element is when we introduce a capo. Now, you may have seen this type of capo before. This is a sort of clamped on capo, the one that I use a lot. I've got a couple of these types of ones. This is the shub one. And now you're going to find this a bit annoying, so bear with me. Because what happens, unfortunately, with this instrument is that the moment I put a capo on it, it will out-tune the top string like that, which is a bit annoying. So now it goes to G sharp. Love that. Love it. So let's try and let's put it down like that normally. Could make it a bit tighter actually. Better. So yeah, the moment I put a capo on it, this is on the first fret, I just love it. It means that I can just really indulge in stuff like this. So this was, I will play for the sake of people asking, I'm not going to sing for you of course, but I'm going to play an excerpt of one of the tracks that I've actually written with, and it was just background on this track. So it's just a dulcimer sort of focused instrument. Sorry, it's a bouzouki focused song where I purely wrote it on here, and then the idea was that we accomplish sort of some strings and everything else. But I'm not going to say too much about it because, yeah. But this is a song that I wrote, and this is an excerpt from it. So. So that was basically an amalgam of the bridge, chorus, verse, sort of everything in between. Because it's in the same key, I suppose I can get away with it. But yeah, that was it really. I just, as I said, I'm a huge fan of this. I don't tend to write it like, I don't really write it on the basis of it being like a folk instrument. I try to write it in sort of a more poppy style. Oh, love it. I'm literally just playing all my songs now. This is a bit embarrassing. So, I mean, the moment I move the capo down again, just changes the sound completely. I had to stop myself, sorry. There you go. So that was a Bouzouki. Sorry, huge lot of music there. I love it. So, Bouzouki, hopefully enjoyed that. Wonderful instrument. Stay safe no matter what you are doing. And hopefully I've given you enough encouragement that you may or may not want to purchase one of these. And you may do a better job of playing it than I do. That's basically it. I love it, and this is what I'm going to be playing all day now. So I'm literally going to write. So I've written 2 tracks which you kind of heard roughly, and I'll probably just start writing more now, to be fair. I'm really in the mood today. It's gorgeous weather, sit out in the garden. The other final thing that I will say to you is that I play this instrument quite hard. It's quite a delicate instrument. And it really doesn't need to be played hard, but I just do. And I just do that. So anyway, there you go. I think I've covered everything. If not, feel free to write in the comments, but please be kind. I know I make a few mistakes on these, but I've not planned this. If I did, I'd be a virtuoso and I'd be doing my normal sort of showy offy stuff that I normally do. But for today, you know, let's keep it real, everybody. And yeah, today's t-shirt is my AC/DC one. I know some of you have been looking and going, oh, wearing a different rock t-shirt for all these history ones, and I will do. So far we've had Queen, Pink Floyd, and what was the other one? I can't remember. There you go, that's the other one. Pink Floyd, Queen, and what was the other t-shirt I've been wearing? I don't know. Yeah, I might have to look back and see what t-shirts I've been wearing. Try to wear a different sort of t-shirt for everybody out there. But yeah, there you go. Stay safe, enjoy. Hopefully I've sort of not bored you to death, and most importantly, because history matters. And yeah, please let me know how everybody's doing out there. I know literally only have a few subscribers these days, so to all you guys out there, hello, and gals as well. And yeah, more to come. I'm almost running out of my folk instruments. We've got the mandolin to do after this one, and that's pretty much it. And then we've got a couple of other really quirky instruments that I might bring out of the table and play for you if you would like it. If not, that's fine, and I will stick to my normal history stuff. But thank you as always for watching. Take care, everybody. And I will see y'all very soon. Bye for now.